Thy throne, O God. Psalm 45:6. On the legitimacy of the alternate translation of Psalm 45:6 and Hebrews 1:8. The following quotations are not offered as proof that their Trinitarian authors agree that Jesus isn't God, but that the alternate translation is grammatically valid. Quote, may be construed so as to mean, quote, thy throne is God. An idiom book of New Testament Greek, Cambridge professor and noted New Testament language scholar, Dr. C.F.D. Moulet. Quote, God is thy throne is God, may be proper renderings. Either makes good sense. Word pictures in the New Testament, noted Trinitarian New Testament Greek scholar Dr. A.T. Robertson, page 339. Quote, may justly be rendered, God is thy throne. Young's Concise Bible Commentary by the Trinitarian author of Young's Analytical Concordance to the Bible. Quote, the Greek construction of Hebrews 1:8 allows the text to be translated, God is your throne forever. The Trinitarian website, carm.org. Quote, thy throne is God is equally possible. A new commentary of Holy Scripture, including the Apocrypha, C. Gore, H. L. Gouge, 1942. Quote, the sense in which the author uses this quotation is clear. It means for him that the Son has divine authority, the Interpreter's Bible. Quote, in contrast with the ministry of angels is set not a direct address to the Son of God, but the sovereign rule which the Son receives from God. Ellicott's Commentary for English Readers. Quote, it seems best to adopt in the first clause the rendering, quote, God is thy throne, or thy throne is God. That is, thy kingdom is founded upon God, the immovable rock. The Epistle to the Hebrews, page 25 and 26, Westcott. Quote, the author quoted a scripture dealing with God's throne upon which the Son would sit. When Solomon ruled over the Lord's kingdom, 1 Chronicles 29:11, he sat on the Lord's throne, 1 Chronicles 29:23, 2 Chronicles 9:8. That did not mean that Solomon was God. To the Hebrews, a new translation with introduction and commentary, the Anchor Bible, pages 20 and 21. English versions translating the phrase as, quote, God is thy throne, etc. Some of the English versions translating the phrase as God is thy throne, or words having the same meaning, include Barclay translation, Trinitarian William Barclay, past minister of Trinity Church, Renfrew, Scotland, past professor of divinity and biblical criticism at the University of Glasgow, Moffat's translation, Trinitarian and Oxford professor Dr. James Moffat, an American translation, Smith and Goodspeed, The Bible in Living English, Byington, 20th Century Translation, Mace Translation, Leeser Translation, NSB, NJB, CEV, JPS, and footnotes in the CEV, ASV, TEV, RSV, REB, and NEB. Summary. Psalm 45 does not state that it is a prophecy of the future Messiah King. Psalm 45 states that its king is blessed by God and anointed by God above his fellows. Hebrews 1:1 and 2 state that God has spoken through the prophets and through Jesus, meaning they are his agents, not God himself. Hebrews 1:3 says that Jesus is the image of God. An image is a visual representation of something, not the thing itself. Hebrews 1:4 says that Jesus was made better than angels and obtained a name. God has always been better than angels and has eternally possessed his name. Hebrews 1:5 says that Jesus was begotten and commands angels to worship him. God was not begotten, but has existed eternally, nor do angels need to be told to worship him. Hebrews 1:9 reminds us that Jesus has a God, was anointed by God, and has fellows. God does not have a God, was not anointed, and has no fellows. Hebrews 2:7 tells us that God made Jesus lower than angels, crowned him with glory and honor, and set him over his works. God can never be lower than angels, already has all glory and honor, and was never set over his works, but is eternally over them. Hebrews 2:8 says that God subjected all things under Jesus. No one subjects anything to God. All things are eternally subjected to him. Hebrews 2:10 says that Jesus was perfected. God has never been perfected. He has always been perfect. Hebrews 2:11 speaks of Jesus' brethren. God has no brethren. He is God alone. We are not God's brethren. We are his children. Hebrews 2:17 states that Jesus is God's priest. A priest is a representative of the deity. God is not his own priest. Hebrews 2:18 says that Jesus was tempted, but, quote, God cannot be tempted. Hebrews 5:8 says that Jesus learned obedience. There is no one to whom God is obedient, nor anything which he needs to learn. Hebrews 9:14 says Jesus offered himself to God. It is meaningless to speak of God offering himself to himself. Hebrews 9:24 says Jesus appears in the presence of God. It is likewise meaningless to speak of God appearing in his own presence. Many English versions of the Bible translate the phrase as found at Psalm 45:6 and Hebrews 1:8, thy throne is God, or its semantic equivalent. Conclusion. Psalm 45:6 does not declare that the king to whom it is addressed is God, but rather that he occupies a throne established by God. The proper translation is, God is thy throne forever.